What did you buy? Ooh, yay! Do you know what these are called? You grew up eating this though, but you don't know what it's called?
No.
That's so messed up. Well, hi everybody. Thank you for watching this week's Coffee with Kyan. I have Mandy Lee, Salesforce specialist, with me today. Hi, Mandy.
Hi.
We're both like super awkward people.
I know. I don't know where to look.
I know.
Okay.
This is gonna be very odd episode to start. No, you're very, very cool. I think I knew that when I saw you on LinkedIn first.
Yeah.
Yeah, before we actually met together. I think I was actually traveling around for a little while first, and then we met afterwards. So.
Yeah, you came back during my second round of interviews.
Yeah.
So.
What was your experience on your second round interview?
I liked it. I think it was very professional. Kate wasn't there either.
Who was professional?
Everyone was professional. I thought it was professional. Kate wasn't there. I think you were away. So yeah.
Okay. So it's been how long? A year?
A year. Actually, a year Memorial. I started the day after Memorial weekend.
Wow. How's this 1 year been for you at IT Work specifically?
It's been crazy, but good.
It's been crazy.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the craziness in a little bit. Mandy actually represents a very specific market space. Do you want to tell everybody a little bit about you, what you do?
Yeah, so I specialize in Salesforce, the Salesforce market, and it's basically the cloud CRM of Salesforce. So I recruit for positions, whether it's like a Salesforce administrators, developers, architect, anywhere between those lines, and throughout the Midwest region, specifically.
So what a Midwest area consists of?
So right now it's like Chicago, Illinois, Wisconsin, Ohio, Michigan, Kentucky.
Why'd you make that face about Kentucky? What's wrong with Kentucky?
Kentucky! There's nothing going on in Kentucky, but there's like a couple of clients that I have that's in Kentucky. And then we expanded a little bit to Minneapolis, Iowa, Minnesota, Missouri.
Good job. What do you like most about your region?
I like most that they're like really friendly. You think like the northern people have, I don't know, like how New York are kind of
attitude.
Yeah, there's really not any attitude. Like
how many New Yorkers are watching this video right now? Please hit the angry mark sign. Just kidding.
That's what I thought, but no, it's really great. Like Southern hospitality. I love all my clients.
It's funny you mentioned about the Southern hospitality. I think we'll obviously go back to the Salesforce piece a little bit. You talk about the Salesforce hospitality. You grew up in the South, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of odd to say that grew up in the South, but I know both of you and I are first generation. Do you want to talk a little bit about your background?
Yeah, my background. So I like Asian background or just professional.
Whatever you like.
Oh, okay. So, so my background, I consider staff recruiting to be one of my very first jobs. I did a little bit of real estate for a year, but that was more like a family business. And then like my very first job was in staffing as a like high volume recruiter, like temp to hire, very, very high volume recruiting. And I've been doing this for about 4 years now. So
wow,
that's really all I know.
So how did you transition from the high volume sector things, and also how you did things are probably very different, to the full niche Salesforce oriented? What have you seen yourself through this transition?
The biggest thing is that you got to slow down, because even though that this is a very high volume pace, but you're more detailed to the type of candidates that you speak to and the type of clients that you speak to. So it's not like you're recruiting for $10 an hour positions. You're recruiting for very high level architects, developer roles where you have to know what you're talking about, so people respect you. Because usually I could just talk to a warehouse and kind of brush my way through it, or just kind of just a level, I guess, of education.
The difference between skills labor versus that are more manual labor work type of workforce.
Yeah, you can say so. Yeah.
And especially I think the volume obviously is very different. And then looking for the skilled labor, there's not as many of them out there. But I think that, what do you see that having the experience of doing high volume recruitment have helped you along the way in your career? Having that experience of high volume for almost 3 years, right?
Yeah. just a sense of urgency and knowing knowing the steps and knowing like the red flags. Like since I've been through just every possible scenario before, I can like foresee the future. If a candidate tells me something, if a candidate tells me something, I already know the direction that they may take, but just kind of expecting that and just having that sense of urgency to just keep pushing.
I think especially is I talked about it day in, day out, is a lot of us that we don't really learn it until we actually have our hands burned. And once we have our hands burned, that's really, the deeper the scar, sometimes that's how we learn the best. And there's no mistakes that we cannot make sometimes, but there are actually some harder mistakes to recover. So I think that obviously the high volume piece, you have to learn that repetition of why does the person not no-showed? Why does the person not accepting the position? Why does the person fail the background check and or drug testing that we could not have? That could be a cause that we could avoid, so on and so forth.
Exactly. So, dealing with people is very hard when you're dealing with a lot of emotions, a lot of personalities. It's very hard, but once you mastered it and kind of know people, it makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah. How do you like working with the people so far?
I love working with people. I'm in the people business.
What do you like about working with people?
Just like having this connection. Like I feel like I get a greater return and just really investing into my conversations. And then like once I place them, it's really great to just look back and says, Mandy, you've been like great. You're so detailed. No recruiter has done this before. It's like a different approach that I take versus any other recruiter. So it's more personalized. So they'll always come back to me. Yeah. So I've gotten clients that always comes back to me for more and more positions. And you can only do that if you're providing great customer service to them.
Yeah, especially that having that genuine interest in them, and that's obviously a very gratifying feeling that either get that verbally in writing. Sometimes on LinkedIn, which I actually appreciate all the LinkedIn recommendations. I think for day in day out doing what we do, especially the staffing industry, we don't always get the best names out there, but and not everybody is doing things ethically. We want to do the right thing and with the best intention, and having a genuine interest in both our clients and candidate specifically. Exactly. So how have you seen yourself now, the entire full 360 role you're being exposed, working day in, day out for the previous year? What has your experience like working with now more of a skilled labor and also the clients that you've been working with? How has that experience been like?
Yeah, I actually really like that experience. The experience has been great. One of my concerns was, am I going to be good at BD? Am I going to get the clients? Am I going to get the job on? And I actually found out that I'm really good at just making those calls and getting the jobs on. That's not the hard part at all, actually. So I actually really do enjoy like the business development more, I think, now. But
and coming back is usually the candidates part is still harder.
Yeah, candidate's always hard because it's just always like highs and lows a little bit, just depending on the people that you're dealing with. But just I have full control over everything now. Before, I didn't have any control. I was basically just staffing. That's all I knew. Was just I had to get somebody in that seat, versus now it's like I'm in control of every single step. And so if I messed up, it's basically my own fault. That kind of makes sense.
Well, you got to own it, basically, and probably better about what you did, what you could have avoided, and the next time around, how to capture that. It's now in your repertoire, vocabulary now to capture next. Cool. So 4+ years, almost 5 years in staffing now. How has your experience been like talking to individuals that probably want to be in staffing? My experience, if somebody came to me and said they wanted to be in staffing, I would say my biggest advice with anybody without staffing experience would be just go in and like hit the grounds running. That's how I've learned. So I started, my very first staffing company was a mom and pop, husband and wife, and I literally hit the ground running. I was running from door to door, like seriously running for these candidates, taking drug tests. So basically like really invest your time into it and really invest learn everything. Don't just learn one piece, learn what other people are doing so you can get everything, because recruiting is just not about sales. There's so much involved in it that you have to master to be able to have a successful placement. All these little elements. Yeah. So on that very first experience, it was semi door to door, making things happen. Yeah, very like ASAP. So they would call me and said, hey, I need 5 housekeepers the next day. I need 5 dishwashers the next day. And
you know, you would have to call at like, you know, midnight just to find somebody like, hey, can you go work at this time? And really, like, it's more about just spoon feeding them, walking through them, like the process, making sure that they go to work. So it's more like a babysitter versus doing that. But I was seriously running back and forth during the office, just drug testing, because you had to do the drug testing in-house. So I had to do that in-house. So it was a pretty unique experience.
I think that translates from the high volume piece. It's interesting to hear you say about having a more thorough approach to things, having that genuine interest in the people you talk to, but also having that sense of urgency. Because I think that a lot of people not grasping the idea of having that sense of urgency, somehow it comes around into how, you know, we talk about the ABCs always be closing, and turns out into the deals cannot be closed in a place where you know you can make it happen, you know, just based on clients need clients and candidates, that before losing the candidate's interest and so on. Have you seen yourself grasping that sense of urgency just based on what you have done to now the entire full life cycle?
Yeah, I'm always closing. So if I feel uneasy about something, or, you know, I could ask the same question 10 different ways and still get the same answer that I want. So it just always like close, always try to make sure that you feel good. Like, you know, the sense of urgency is there. You can just go through the motions, because I know a lot of people just go through the motions and schedule interviews, and then they just go through the motions. And then once they get to the final round of interviews, they're just like, it falls off and they don't know what happened. But I'm like, if you don't have the sense of urgency, you're not closing, you're missing out something in the process that you should have went back on, you know?
So obviously it's a different scope of process. High volume recruitment is very much about, I have 5 minutes to be on the call to find out from that time, potentially even making an offer within 5 minutes from initial contact and so on.
Exactly.
How have you seen yourself now that stretch into the entire full desk, full 360, and also that entire life cycle, to stretch out that process been? How has that been like this past 12 months?
It's been longer. I've been on the phone a lot longer. So what I've been learning is that each time I talk to my candidate, so I'm like really good friends with them now, to a point where we talk so much I text them. So when I'm on kind of versus like 5-minute call, you know, now I'm doing like an hour more call, just making sure that we're still on the same page.
Yeah.
So I'm asking if anything has changed since we last spoke, or just kind of a deeper approach to everything. Yeah. And I know them personally, so it's kind of like a better relationship versus...
And actually having a relationship versus just an acquaintance. Obviously that a lot of candidates are being contacted day in, day out, even though we're working in a niche market, knowing that candidates obviously have other ventures that they can take. Yeah, and then the number of calls that they're receiving on day in, day out. So now talk a little bit more about you. Focus now. So I know obviously you have still fairly young. Yeah. And then full push, almost 5 years now in staffing. Actually 5 years in staffing now. So where do you see yourself next? What's on the horizon? What's on your partial your goals and aspirations?
I definitely want to always stay in recruiting. Whether I like the 360 desk approach actually better than just doing the recruiting aspect of it, just so I can have a control. But maybe I've looked into maybe senior recruiting, like a lead recruiter. I haven't thought too much into that. I'm more like I like to be hands-on with everything.
You like to be hands-on?
Yeah, I like to be hands-on, because I think my last company at Spectrum, I was managing like recruiters and administrative assistant, which is fine, but I think that's not something that I'm like really for.
Excited about.
Yeah, because I'm like, I could do it better than I can show you in that kind of way, you know? So
you lead by the example, but obviously that Spectrum have done great for you know, building you to the level of experience that you have now, and also probably the maturity too. Yeah. Even just from myself working with you for the past year, I've seen you mature almost at a, every 2-3 months there's a major advancement, and to see you actually talk about things being thorough, talking about the process, talking about especially relationship building, which sometimes, you know, our background doesn't, not that link is having that outlet, but it's having a level of understanding, connecting with people from various backgrounds that it can be hard to relate to from time to time. So tell us a little bit about, I know you have a very different upbringing, so tell us a little bit about, obviously, your transition, I think, to the U.S. initially, and tell us a little bit about your cultural background.
Yeah, so I'm Vietnamese. My mom is very traditional. My dad's like more Americanized, so it's kind of like growing up. I think the Asian stereotype or the stereotype of
There's
our culture,
expectation.
yeah, very high. So like you have to be a doctor, you have to be a lawyer, very like, and those kind of, I feel like those kind of fields are not so like what we're doing in HR or recruiting. You don't see a lot of,
Traditionally, HR is, well, actually, I guess staffing. I was actually sharing with Gary this similar concept as well. I think even my dad have a hard time understanding what I do really exactly. And then I was working with Gary that, yeah, actually, staffing is actually, if not number one, number two, the highest growing industry in the world. And then, but it's a harder concept, I think, for certain parts of the world, understanding the art, the intelligence, and also the beauty behind all of it, the magic per se.
Yeah. My mom's like, "What do you do?" And I used to say, "I help people find jobs."
That's an easier way out.
The most cliche thing ever, but that's what I tell her. She's like, "What do you mean? What is that?" So she has no idea what I do. So I'm just like, I just help people find jobs. That's it.
And also probably making a lot of money.
Yeah.
But hey, but most importantly then, connecting the dots, understanding the candidates and client within that specific niche. So I think that within the things that are obviously that all parts of you to shape you become who you are today, what would you say that have been some of the major push for you to be doing what you're doing right now, or do you want to be doing what you're doing right now?
I think the major push is just I just left my mom at a very young age. So I left her, and I've been independent since I was 18. So the biggest push is just I just want to make everything myself. Like just the driving factor is to have everything myself and not have any support from my parents. Because a lot of times, a lot of I guess cultures or a lot of parents get a lot of support, from their parents or financially or personally. So the biggest thing is that I can do this myself. I can make a lot of money myself. I don't need anybody to like push me. I'm pretty self-driven myself.
So why is that recognition, the having that independence and recognition, that's so important to you?
I just think that it's important just because that's just who I am. Like, I think my mom was downing me when I first started working. She says, you're not going to make any money. You're going to end up doing
something
nails.
Bad or
or
the stereotypes, and then
and I just said, no, I'm not. I'm doing this. So that's just like, I think that's just the driving. Besides that, I just want it better for myself. This is what I love doing, and I think I could definitely retire doing the exact same thing.
Doing staffing. Very cool. I know you like the hands-on approach specifically as well. I know we just talked about earlier being maybe more the senior route or team lead, so on and so forth. What are some of the elements do you see that, now you've been staffing for almost 5 years now, a little over 5 years, and then on the delivery role you have done the full 360. What are the extra elements do you see yourself that, first question, you can impart on others to help others become better?
Yeah, that's a really tricky question, and I haven't mastered that skills yet. Like I have a weakness and kind of empowering other people, teaching. Kind of if you're new or agreeing to staffing, it's really hard for me to say, hey, this is what staffing is, because there's not just one definition. There's so much that goes into it. So I think one of those things is just keep trying, ask a lot of questions, keep trying. Look at every like little thing that I do and try to mimic me, so that you can understand why I'm doing the things I do. I'm not just doing it just to waste time on the phone or to bother somebody. I'm doing it for a purpose. There's
a purpose behind everything that you do. Actually, that's a great leading by example. But also you think about the little things, and a lot of times we don't see the little things until, again, having our hands burned. Then you know that's a very important element. So what about career advancement? Or what's more important to you at the moment, looking at the next few months, years, decades to come?
Maybe years. I definitely, like you said, I could see myself leading a team, having a team around me, empowering them to just, if they're hungry for it, I'm definitely going to be there to support and offer like best advice on what to do. So yeah, definitely being that leadership route, even a mentorship route, that's fine. But I still like to be very hands-on with everything.
On the delivery side of things.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Very hands-on.
So coming back about Salesforce, lots of exciting thing about Salesforce. I know Dreamforce is not too far from right now, already in June. So what do you see right now within the market space you're working in right now? What's exciting on the horizon?
Well, definitely Dreamforce. Salesforce is so big, I cannot even explain to you how big it's gotten.
Especially some of the major markets you're working in right now.
Yeah.
Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Chicago, Illinois.
Chicago is definitely the biggest, I would say. Chicago, Illinois is Chicago and Michigan. A lot of universities, a lot of nonprofits got into them. So I like working with nonprofits and that nonprofit space, but then also like Chicago is biggest in like tech space as well. So most of my clients and placements has been there.
Okay. And give it away to our competitors who are watching. Please say hi so we know who you are, and we'll definitely track you down just in case. We obviously want to collaborate as well and see that what are the ideas out there, and obviously Mandy being one of the best at what she does.
Yeah.
So what are some of the hardest things that you're working on right now that potentially that maybe the clients or candidates might be looking for from you?
So the hardest thing I would say is like architects. There's never enough like architects.
Senior level architects.
Yeah, even just architects in general. Somebody that's certified, that's like very, very rare. So if you're an architect out there, please contact me.
678-291-0081.
Yeah, and then I guess for that's like the candidate side, and then the client, they're always looking for like consultant. I know Lightning is really big right now. Lightning and Marketing Cloud, like CPQ, it's like another within another like you would call it version or models.
Different model and modules
between Salesforce, but we could just call it cloud, like Lightning, and then they have marketing.
It's so funny. Every time you talk about anything that's questionable, you always do this face.
Cloud.
I'm not sure if I want that rice. Just kidding. Very cool. So what do you have on the horizon right now for yourself? What's planned for the next 6-18 months? Are you planning anything fun? Going anywhere fun?
Yeah, we're going to Denver in July, so I'm taking the whole week off in July. July 4th is my Bryant's birthday, my boyfriend's birthday, and so we're gonna go to Denver for a couple of days and then fly to LA and spend some time there.
Okay, that's exciting.
I'm so excited.
Yay! Something to look forward to before the end of the year. Obviously, market is super hoppy right now, and you're extremely busy.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for time to put some time out of your time, because you're one of the person that definitely been looking forward to talk to, especially hitting at the 1 year mark, which happy anniversary.
Thank you.
And then lots of exciting thing and seeing you grow as well so much. So one last thing for the candidates and clients who've been working with you so far, I think that on the full spectrum of experience, what would you like to say to them for working with you for the past year and potentially many years to come?
I'm just really excited to like see, I guess on the client side, I'm excited to see you guys come back or, really enhance your Salesforce instant and see what I can do to help. I know the clients or the candidates I presented to you has been great.
Yeah.
And then on the candidate side, definitely just, see them grow, develop new certifications and skills.
Cool. Last question. For anybody who wanted to come into recruitment right now, what words of advice do you have for them specifically?
If you want to come into recruitment right now, my advice, I guess, would be just to have that sense of urgency and sense of drive and like really hit the ground running.
Hit the ground running.
You can't go wrong with that. Like once you do that, you cannot fail.
Words of advice from Mandy Lee, Salesforce Specialist. Thank you, Mandy.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll chat soon then before the end of the day and see how things go. And then any question you have, please give us a shout. 678-291-0081. And then Coffee with Kyan. See you guys next week.